Welcome back. Why are they falling from grace? And they are church leaders, spiritual leaders, faith leaders, pastors, and elders, and even those who are part of the servants ministry too, are falling from grace. Both micro and mega churches, preachers are falling from grace. Many of them are resigning because of immoral issues or inappropriate sexual behavior or just inappropriate behavior. Or they're asked to step down for the same reasons. Why are they falling from grace? Few hints. One, most of them feel like they can't do any wrong, and they're made to feel that they can't do any wrong. That's how they feel. They feel like they can't do any wrong. That they're super beings, superhuman, little gods, and they're made to feel that way even by many churchgoers or professing Christians. They're made to feel like they can't do any wrong, they're human, they make mistakes. But they are sinning. And a lot of what they're getting involved with is sinful. And we all do sin and miss it at times. But we don't sin and feel good about it. But we don't sin and just ignore it. Go on. Have to ask for forgiveness for those sins. But they're made to feel as if they can't do any wrong and they're human. Two, they are falling from grace because there's no one holding them accountable. There's no accountability. They're not being held accountable. That was one of the primary roles of the apostles and the prophets. They held church leaders accountable because if you sin or if a leader sinned, bishop, pastor, overseer, elder, if they sinned, that was a reproach on the Lord. That would be a reproach to the Lord and to the church. It would bring a reproach. So they held them accountable. And even before they were placed in those offices as church officials, they checked them out. They didn't just place them in office, because they had a degree or because they were degreed or collegiate, college graduate, seminary graduate. Just, they didn't just place them in office just because they were educated. No, they checked them out. And even after they were consecrated, placed in office, they still held them accountable. So church leaders today are not being held accountable. And if someone does hold them accountable, they see that as disrespectful. That's how they see it. And they see it as bigotry and so on. So there's no accountability. They're not being held accountable. And then three, the reason why they're falling from grace is because they are deceived. Be not deceived. God is not mocked, right? You don't make a mockery of God. And everybody know what that scripture is. If you don't, there it is. God will not be mocked at all. And they're deceived and falling from the grace of God because of their misteaching, twisting, bending of the teachings of grace. Just that. They misteach grace. And what's been said for so long, most people use grace as a license to sin. And as the misteaching about grace, and a lot of the misteaching or misteachings come from the pulpit. And most of these leaders have mistaught, twisted, bended, and they fudged, watered down teaching or teachings of grace. But God will not be mocked. He will not be mocked. And most of them are falling from grace because God will not be mocked. And the most noted ones are not the only ones. There's going to be more, even in your region, the region that I'm in, territory, country, wherever you are, there's going to be more. Because God, the Father, Supreme Judge, will not be mocked.